Welcome to Tailgate Talk. Ritter, Wags, Tasker, gang back together in the new year. How's everybody doing? How was the new year? How was Christmas? How was all those things?
Well, my New Year's was doing champagne pours in our stairwell from the next level up.
I did get that video.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it was good. I felt like I'm kind of the person that I enjoy taking my time off, but the last 2 years have helped me realize that I just need to burn days like in the beginning and middle of the year and not just sit there and bank them thinking that I'm going to hunt more than I end up hunting. And I was so ready to get back to work and get back into a routine after, it felt like a month off of work. So I'm ready to be back.
I enjoyed the time off. I loved being off of the normal day job for that long. Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just so itching to get back into some sort of a routine. So here we are. Wags, how was it for you?
You know what? It seems to go, you guys will realize this when you get older. It goes faster and faster. So enjoy the time with the kids. Obviously, but Ritter, you got to enjoy it because now all of a sudden we do a dinner at a place in Hubertus in the Richfield area. It's a nice little steak place across from my buddy's bar. And we've been going there for every year we go there. And now all of a sudden my reservations have gone from 8 o'clock, maybe 7, 7:30, 6, 4 o'clock, because my daughters need to go to parties and they have to leave. So your time slot is 2 hours. So we eat from 4 to 6 and they're gone. Their friends come, they leave, they go. One of them went up to Oshkosh with a couple friends and the other one went out here. And we're just sitting around and next thing you know, I find myself at the old Sloppy Joe's saloon that I've been to a million years. And then I come home early before midnight and I'm looking on YouTube for Australia or London celebration because there's not a chance in hell I can stay up till midnight.
Wags, I'm there with you. I spent my New Year's Eve. I passed out on the couch too. I think I might have seen 10:30. I stayed up long enough to watch Ohio State lose the game. They missed the field goal, and I think that was the last memory I have before my alarm was going off the next morning, and I had to get up to go ice fishing. So that's where I was at.
Exactly.
Which was exactly at midnight, I think, East Coast time. Right? Have you seen those correlation videos where the field goal was kicked at exactly as the ball dropped at midnight? It was exactly the timing of New Year's being rung in on the East Coast.
Craziness.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, a lot of stuff to get to. Hope you had a wonderful new year and are excited to get into 2023. Again, you want to follow us on socials. It is @On The Tailgate. Special thanks to our sponsors and friends, Buckrub Outfitters, for everything they do. You can check them out, Silverdale Road in Pewaukee, or look them up online, buckrub.archery.com. I know I was talking to someone that said they went past Buckrub in that kind of break between Christmas and New Year's. Noticed the parking lot was packed every time they've driven by. So a lot of people getting in there to take advantage of some good sales they had going on through the holidays. And also want to welcome aboard new sponsor, Bunzel's. Bunzel's Meat Market in Milwaukee. They've been a staple for many, 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 many years. Great place. I can't recommend enough their summer sausage, which is fantastic. Their jerky. They do great lanyards. I'm a big fan of Bunzel's, so glad to have them on board with some cool stuff. And they great catering as well. You're looking for somebody to cater something, Bunzel's is the place to go. So check them out online, bunzels.com. But we're going to talk about wolf hunt plans in the state of Wisconsin. I know your tasker was going to get you fired up.
I haven't heard anything about this, so I can't wait to hear some updates.
All right, so we're going to get into that. We've got to talk about CWD in Buffalo County because that has popped up, and, why not bring CWD back into the circle of things right away? And apparently someone caught their 30,000th smallmouth bass in the state of Wisconsin.
Wow.
A lot of questions.
What?
A lot of questions.
I want to start right there. That's where we're going to go. So Bill Schultz of New Berlin apparently had been apparently counts as fish. I don't know how this, but he neared the $30,000 mark or 30,000 fish mark. He got a hold of Dan Durbin with the Wisconsin Entrepreneurs and invited him out to go fishing with him. Apparently Dan was with him when he caught his 30,000th smallmouth. It was in 20 feet of water. And what do you say? He was using one of his father's favorite baits, an amber tube. Says he began fishing with his dad and his brothers, trips to Canada, Lake Mendota, things like that. He's caught most of his smallmouth bass fishing small Wisconsin rivers or from his boat in Sturgeon Bay in and around Door County. How were you keeping track of 30,000 of a specific species of fish? Did you have like one of those little click, click, click counters that you did it?
It's got to be.
Like, the question I have then for y'all is, do you count your fish? Like, when you go on a day, you're like, oh, I caught X number of fish?
I might count them that day. Like, I might get home and say, oh, yeah, I caught 7 fish today. But I've forgotten how many fish I've caught over. I mean, probably the next day I don't remember how many fish I caught.
I will say that the only time that I know how many fish I caught is when fishing tournaments.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can't tell you. Like, great example, Canada. I can't tell you how many fish I caught each day. I have no clue. No clue anything. I can't tell you how many smallmouth I caught. I can't tell you how many. Well, I can't tell you any of that. It's caught, it's thrown back in the water, or it's thrown back in the cooler, whatever it is. Like that's all it's done. It's mechanical for me. I can't think of like keeping track and counting. And I'm not saying it's bad or like bashing this man for that. I think it's great and congratulations for Bill and that feat of things. But I mean, do people count their fish? And I get like if it's under like you said, Tasker, like for a day, like I caught 7 fish today or something like that.
Yeah.
But beyond a single outing, do you count fish? That's right. How does anyone do that? I just feel it's impossible.
No. Well, I mean, now the small angler that I am, I can tell you right now that I've caught 9 muskies, and my biggest muskie's a 48-incher. I have never reached a 50-incher. I've got 9. I've got them all on the rivers of the Flambeau and the Chippewa. I've never caught one of my muskies on a lake. My largest is 48. I don't know the exact weight because all I go is was length. I wanted a 50-incher so bad, and I know that I do not have double digits yet. But again, that's a different type of fish. So maybe you categorize it different. Smallmouth, like you said, you can go out there and sit, or you go pan fishing. Yeah, I caught 50,000 perch, or it's like, come on, how many crappies you got?
Right. Yeah, back to the muskie thing. My biggest 42, and I have not caught a muskie on a river. All my muskies have been in lakes.
Isn't that crazy? That's crazy.
Oh, nope, I take that back. Did catch one on a tip-up on the Fox River in Green Bay while walleye fishing. Did catch one muskie through a tip-up. That's the only river muskie that I've had, and it was like for 14 inches. It was the tiniest little muskie I've ever seen.
See, that's where I think you remember those things. Like, you remember your PBs. Right.
Yes, you remember your biggest or things. I agree.
Or like those elusive fish like muskies. It's easy to remember, oh, yeah, I've caught 6 of them or whatever, But I think PBs are something that people always will remember. And I don't understand how you could even keep track of how many. You know what, though?
I don't know my biggest largemouth. I know my biggest smallmouth. But I don't know what the biggest largemouth I ever caught was. I probably just over 5 is my biggest largemouth, and I can tell you my smallmouth was 6 and change.
Yeah,
it was just a hair over 6 pounds. Was my biggest small. I can't tell you largemouth. I can tell you length. Like I said, a muskie was 42. That's about all I can remember. I mean, I've caught numerous perch in that like 13-inch range. 12 to 14 somewhere in there. I've caught a lot of that. But no.
I have a fact, a fun fact, that the Wisconsin state record smallmouth bass is registered on Indian Lake. That's up in Sugar Camp, and I used to have a house on that lake. Rumor has it that fish was not caught on Indian Lake. It was only registered on Indian Lake because the gentleman that fished it, like you guys, didn't want to give up his honey hole. So he told everybody that he was on Indian Lake up in, and I believe I can't remember because I sold my place up there in like 2009. I think it was like Vilas County, but you look it up. The state largemouth or the state smallmouth bass is caught on Indian Lake up in Sugar Camp, Wisconsin, and that is a falsehood because the man gave a fake lake name when he registered it because he caught it somewhere else to protect his honey hole.
Wags, there's a fisherman that's telling a lie?
Yeah, I know. Can you believe that?
I can't. This is shocking new news to me.
It's like a baseball player not trying to cheat.
Yeah.
But anyway, congratulations on show number 99 as we get rolling here. Looking forward to the 100th episode. I'll spill out the beans for next week's show, give you a little teaser of it. we are going to take Eric Tasker on a first. So we had a first going to Canada last year. And now Eric Tasker will have a first time going out ice fishing.
I'm just really glad that Rez went out and checked the ice this morning. He's just so cautious for me about this all, and I just want to say, John, thank you for that, because I'm sure that I'm going to go through and I'm sure it'll be fine.
We knew that we wanted to do something special for the 100th episode of the show. So, whether you're new just joining us or you've been along with us from show number 1, which seems like forever ago, it's really cool to hit, 100 shows. And we always wanted to make something cool for the milestone. So we got thinking, well, how can we do it? We go and we make an event of it. So we're all going to be out ice fishing, and we are going to record the show live on the ice. For you. So that's going to be a fun little excursion. We'll talk a lot about ice fishing, so it's going to be a very ice fishing focused show, but I know that there's going to be more so laughter and fun and camaraderie, which is what, to me, this show is about, what ice fishing is about, what generally hunting and fishing and enjoying the outdoors is about, the camaraderie with friends and just having fun. So I'm really looking forward to that. I know Resnick and I both actually got out. That was who I fished with on New Year's Day, and we did a little fishing together ourselves, and I will fully admit this. I got skunked my first time out in 2023.
Oh, man.
It was a tough day fishing. And the lake that we fished was kind of a trophy fishery. Like we were fishing for big bluegills, and that was the whole point. We were fishing for bigger fish. It's a kind of a difficult lake, I think, to fish, and the fact of the ice conditions and what we had to deal with didn't do us any favors. It was, the day that we went out was 40 degrees it got up to, but there was a good amount of ice. I think we had it varied anywhere from 4 to 6, some places 7 inches of ice that we had found, but there was an inch at least of water on top of the ice. So it was a sloppy, ice was super, super clear. This is a super, super clear lake that we were on. So I feel like the fish could see us moving. I could look down a hole and see my bait 25 feet down.
Wow.
So, they could see, so we had to really move around a lot. It was almost like you had to catch them off guard. And just as our friend Gary from Ballard's Black Island
say, on the head.
Bop him on the head. So, John caught one nice bull bluegill, which went back in, and then randomly pulled a nice big pike out.
Yeah.
I think he got a decent crappie and a couple of rock bass. But we were out for a long time that morning, and it was not a lot of fish. It was not a lot of action. We would get him on our graphs and stuff, and we just couldn't get him to commit. We think what we were finding was a bunch of small perch. Big schools of tiny perch that were hanging. They were literally sucked to the bottom. And so we could draw them off the bottom, but just couldn't get them to commit, or they just were too small to take the baits. So that was our first time out. I will admit I got skunked. That's not going to happen on the 100th. I'm sure we're going to catch plenty of fish, and looking forward to it. So, of course, you can follow us on socials @On the Tailgate. I am @The Real Ritter, joined by Wags, the man himself, Paul Wagner, former Milwaukee Brewer, but Pittsburgh Pirates. Trying to think, I'm missing another team there, Wags, right?
Yeah, as many times as I got fired, I got hired. But I played in Cleveland in the big leagues, but then played for Atlanta, New York Mets. Holy Christ. Everybody says, oh, you played for 5 different teams. That's great. I go, yeah, that's great. But you got to remember, if you play for 5, that means you got fired 5 times, too.
Hey, you'll never get fired from here, Wags. And Eric Tasker.
No pink slips.
Eric Tasker in studio @Wisco Bow Hunting. You want to follow him on socials. But so I mentioned it before, 100th episode. We're going to get ice fishing. Looking forward to that. Want to talk about the new news that broke here with the Wisconsin wolf plans, all right? So I know this was a highly contested thing. We did an entire show about the future of wolf hunting. I think it's come up a couple of times. We've talked about it here on the show. But apparently, Wisconsin wildlife officials released their first new wolf management plan in their quarter. This is the first time in 25 years or so that they've really come out with this. So the state DNR adopted a wolf management plan back in '99 that called for capping the statewide population at 350 animals. As the number of wolf population increased, obviously it got bigger. Right now, they say currently it stands at 970 animals. And I remember back when we had the wolf hunt that went through the crazy scenario that popped up a couple of years ago, when we blew through what we were supposed to kill, 119 was the quota, and was it 218 were killed in a matter of 4 days?
Yeah. Well, was it 4? I thought it was 3. For some reason.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, the new plan are going to strip hunters of the argument of a statewide population goal. So instead, they're recommending the DNR, with help of an advisory committee, they monitor local populations within each of the state's 6 wolf hunting zones and use that to decide whether to reduce a local population, keep it stable, or allow it to grow. So each individual wolf hunt zone is basically going to become like its own state and is going to manage its own population within its own zone by following along and keeping track of the populations, and then decide whether they should cull some from the population or let it sit, or they should not do anything and let it grow. I don't know. Apparently Minnesota released an updated wolf plan that calls for something similar to this, or something like what we used to have. They're setting their population at 2,700. So that's where they're at now. They're looking to keep it between 220 and 3,000. There's too many numbers out there. I get confused.
So you're saying the DNR or the powers above will not just blanket coverage wolf populations in the state of Wisconsin. These same people will determine areas. It's not like you're not going to have a local representative from the southeast, the northwest. You're not going to have someone from like Price County. There's not going to be one individual running or determining the wolf population in Price County per se. It's the governing boards are just going to break it into sections on how they do it rather than a blanket coverage of Wisconsin. Is that the understanding?
Right. My interpretation, Wags, is that exactly that. So the DNR they're going to monitor it, but they're going to use like data that other people within those regions are going to gather, and then they'll decide whether there is a hunt in, zone 6, or there is, and there'll be a chance to harvest 50 animal or whatever they need to call things. So they're basically going to just keep it, like you said, zone by zone instead of the blanket coverage of things, because I don't know how I feel about that. I do think that it makes sense in the fact that certain areas have a bigger wolf problem than other areas, and that's where the areas I could see that the population could use culling, whereas other areas might not need culling. And instead of sending hunters out and culling a herd that still could grow, like that isn't at an unhealthy population because, well, it's just a blanket wolf hunt, that they're going to does that make sense at all? Like, it's super confusing. Like, the whole story and the whole article and the whole thing that they released was very confusing, but that's my understanding of it. I kind of like the local management to some extent, because then you don't have that blank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. So I think it always comes down to a couple things that never seems to line up with what hunters feel like, or maybe this is just going to be my personal opinion.
No, give your opinions. This is what we do. We all have opinions.
I think that it comes down to, are they accurately claiming the number in the population for the statewide population, but now just talking, to these individual management units. Are they going to be confident in those numbers? Because as we found out the last time, if they said that there was 900 or whatever wolves, either people are really good at finding them or calling them in, or they way underestimated the number in the population for the state that we were able to blow through a 10-day hunt or a 9-day hunt in 3 or 4 days. Okay, so that's always going to be the concern for me, that they are not accurately getting that number of what that population is. So then that trickles down then to, how do you accurately get the number of tags or the harvest quota for each of those individual management units, and know that you're confidently managing that herd to the fullest extent, right? Because if we continue to think that there's a number of X, but it's really X plus 50%, we're still going to be under managing that herd in whatever management units they end up deciding, right?
Well, yeah, but wouldn't you say, are they significant? Turkey tags are given out in different areas. Doe tags are given out in different areas. When you break it down into smaller spectrums, I think it's easier to determine. Is the range greater? I mean, yeah, we've seen elk leave Clam Lake, and we've seen elk showing up everywhere. We know animals are wildlife and they move on their own, but I think they've I kind of like it. Because I like the job they do with turkey tags. I think they've monitored the turkey population in different zones and different areas where extra tags are allowable. And as much as I love to deer hunt and the whitetail, I think they've, without approaching the CWD or the EHD, any of that stuff, I think they have managed that with buck-only areas that some disagree with, or, holiday hunts with many disagree about. But they try to control the population. And I think it's easier to control something in smaller environments, though you can't say, okay, you're in Dodge County, do not go to Washington County or Jefferson County. You can't say that, but you have to get some type of start rather than the blanket coverage. I think a smaller sample due to cattle kill, dog kills,
predation,
camera sees, what we're starting to see. And obviously, we've talked about this before with the coyotes and the wolves. Mainly, like when Ritter said he walked out, and you scare the animal more than they are. But if now all of a sudden you start seeing rabid animals coming out at day, sort of like when we see raccoons during the day, you say that's a sick raccoon.
Yeah, that
raccoon is not healthy because it's out in the day. So I'm okay with it, depending on how it all works out, but that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'll get you a couple more. Here's some other key parts that are in this plan, okay? So they're going to be reducing the window for registering wolf kills from 24 hours to 8 hours. So basically what they were looking at was they think that because of the lengthy grace period, that slowed the tally, which is what led to the over-harvesting of wolves. I agree.
Yeah.
I think, why can't you, if you harvest an animal like that, register it immediately? They think about, a goose, I think, is 24 hours too, but, why can't you? It takes nothing. As much as, think about whitetail when you used to have to actually, punch your tags and take it to a registration station. The fact that you're punching the tag and putting it on the animal like you used to have to do, what's the difference if you take out your phone and you register your animal right there on the spot where it is? Why?
Yeah.
It's too easy.
The only thing with that is just reception. For me, right. I know I probably wouldn't be able to do that right away, but I can also drive 14 minutes into town.
That's what I'm saying.
And get it done. So I do think that's a long grace period. And especially with something as sensitive as this, I don't see why they would have a problem, because you can't say, oh, well, we couldn't find it until the next day or whatever. It's just within 8 hours of claiming your harvest.
So issuing the zone-specific licenses, like I talked about, they're going to do it within each zone, turkey and, things like that are. Because right now they're saying that basically what happens when it's the standard wolf license that you can hunt anywhere in the state, well, once certain zones or areas become closed after their quotas are reached, hunters then shift to the other zones that are open, which increases hunter concentration and reduces your kill opportunities.
Right.
So you've got your zone. Once your zone's closed, it's done. I mean, think about the spearing season. You've got the river system tags, or you've got the Lake Winnebago tags.
Yeah.
One could close, the other stays open, but what tag you have is the tag you have. Once your zone closes, your season's done. And it's kind of the same thing. They also intend to educate the public about wolves by sending out emails and texts related to wolf conflicts, hold public meetings and hunting season updates, as well as streamline the wolf information on their DNR website. So they want to communicate more about wolves with the public.
Is that going to scare more people and have more animosity towards wolves then?
Negatively, people don't like wolves, or to bring out more of the animal rights activists that are these are majestic animals, you shouldn't hunt them.
I think both. Because I think
agree.
If people are getting, if anybody in the DNR system, 700,000, 1 million people in the state of Wisconsin that are in the system, if they're getting text updates about predation from wolves, and people start to raise concerns about their pets or their livestock or whatever, I think that's going to fuel the fire more for people to get out and wolf hunt. So just purely out of a threat to their animals. And then the opposite side of that, of course, is just going to be the animal rights people just going out and saying, I actually had a nice back and forth with a guy who I think was Native American, so I think I kind of picked up on that right away, that he was a wolf advocate. And his comment was, well, just because it's a wolf and it's a predatory animal doesn't mean that they don't have a place in our ecosystem too, which is totally fair. But if they are overtaking, and I've always had this feeling or opinion of it, is that if they are overgrowing their accommodating herd level, then we have to do something about it. Just like we do with wolves, just like we do with bears, turkeys, whatever. We have those limitations in place for a reason, because the DNR and the people who study conservation and like the actual capacity to handle different quantities of those animals know what those levels should be. So I don't have a problem with that.
Can I play devil's advocate here and be the flip side of things?
Sure.
Who says that we get to be God and determine how many animals are supposed to be here?
I do. Well, I think that it's
those
a
are
problem
animals.
for...
Those are animals. Those are animals that can. I mean, they're predators. It's not a deer or a turkey or a squirrel or something. These are animals that when they go rabid or when they go nuts or when they get into groups, we've seen it. It's been well documented. They fight in packs. They roam together, just like a bear. If you mess with it, they're dangerous to all. So I think there is a difference.
But
you're right.
Who are we to be who says that we're supposed to be the people that determine what's dangerous and what's what?
Well, I can determine what's dangerous for me, because if a wolf or a bear come into my backyard and they threaten me any way, shape, or form, they're probably going to be taken out.
Okay, and you know what? And that's nature happening right there.
Right.
That's nature. But that's what I'm saying. Who's to say that we're the ones that? And I'm just being devil's advocate.
Right.
I'm just.
But you would agree
that
we have to have, like, if there's a population that is overgrowing, and that there's a need for whatever various
spread
reasons,
of disease, which is something we're going to cover. We're going to get to that very shortly. The fact that populations will spread disease if not, kept in control. Which I get, disease is nature's way of keeping things in control.
Right.
And that's why it's the personal struggle. I say that's me being devil's advocate. Flip side, it is sometimes a personal struggle inside me, inside the person that I am. Of I have those thoughts of myself, and maybe I'm strange because I'm kind of that hippie, like I say all the time. But it's like, who is it to say that I'm that we're the ones as humans essentially to determine these things? Nature has always had its own plan. Nature's always run its course. Are we messing with it too much by putting our thoughts and rights over an animal's thoughts and rights? And I mean, it's just personal thoughts. I like to be philosophical with myself and think about these scenarios. That's usually what helps me stay sane when sitting in a tree not seeing any deer.
I thought of you.
So here's one for you. Okay, yeah. So who's to determine that? Then you can look. And I'm not. I know what you did. I know you played both sides, so we could have a conversation. But okay, for why is the speed limit 55 miles here per hour and 45 miles per hour here? Who's to determine how fast I can go? Well, no. You know why we determine that? Because somebody different said that it's safer to do. There's so many things. Somebody has to kind of be in control to protect. And I'm not saying that speed limits are, comparative to animal populations and stuff like that. But, there's safety. I think it's 100% a safety issue, because if those numbers get too big, I think those predator animals can be harmful to us. And do they have a more right to the property than I do? I know what you're saying. I can see the Native American. I can see somebody else saying that, it's their. In my opinion, it's I have priority. That's why we have self-defense. That's why we do things, because you have to take care of yourself, and people look out for you. Speed limits are different. Whatever, right-hand turns, turn on right, no red. There's rules and regulations, and there's things to protect us. I believe that's the fact.
Yeah, no, I think I absolutely agree with that. But it goes along the lines of, I've said many times, and I'm very vocal about it. I have no interest in hunting wolves. I will never shoot and kill a wolf or a coyote, because I'm the person that I'm not going to unalive something that I don't intend to eat, utilize to its fullest, all those things. And it's just me, a personal choice. I'm not saying that anyone that does it, that they shouldn't or it's bad. It's just a personal choice in me. That's my personal choice.
I think it's so funny.
Do you trap? Do you trap at all?
No, I don't.
Do you ever trap? Do you trap rats, muskrats? You don't trap anything. You never trapped.
Mice.
Okay.
Mice in my house.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've had 2 mice that I've ever trapped in my house.
That are
I meant registered.
Right.
Okay, so I think it's funny though
traps.
that you say that, because one of the comments on my video, rebuttal back and forth with this guy, was, is there any reason not to eat that harvest? Referring to wolf harvest. And my comment back was, you got any wolf recipes? Because, like, you don't hear about that. I mean, I don't even know if you can eat them or if you would eat them or whatever. But, I mean, I think the reason that people take them out and that they actually do harvest them is purely for population control.
Oh, yeah. And the height. It's just, it's height. And that's, I mean, I get that you could say that, oh, it's the harvest and I'm giving back and feeding to other animals because other animals will feed off of. But just for me personally, it just feels wasteful. And my moral compass within me won't allow me to do that. Again, not saying that I think it's bad and people shouldn't. I'm totally for it. I'm all on board.
Right, because I would shoot one in a heartbeat. Right. I mean, I put my scope on one this year just because it walked in my area and I saw it. I didn't shoot it, but I mean, I never really had an opportunity to shoot it, but I also just would not do it if there was not a wolf hunt happening.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? I mean, I saw one, I scoped it, I watched it walk through the woods, and it was terrifying and really freaking cool all at the same time.
All right, I want to take a break. We're going to get back on this, and then we got to talk about CWD. We'll get to more of that. Tailgate Talk continues.
Bunzel's, Milwaukee's finest meat market, specialty grocer, deli, and caterer. Family owned and operated for 4 generations. Bunzel's means old-time charm and fresh from the farm. Homemade specialty sausages, award-winning jerky, organic poultry, and hand-selected cuts of beef from Wisconsin's choice cattle. Football is back. From pregame apps to the final whistle, make sure you stop in and pick up everything you need for football parties this fall. Taco dip and chips, sub sandwiches and wings, and marinated wings ready for cooking to desserts and treats. There's nothing quite like Bunzel's. Bunzel's.com.
Hey, it's Ritter, and if you follow my socials or listen to our show a lot, I'm sure you've heard me talk about how relaxing and fun archery is. In fact, my wife has joined me and got a bow of her own at the same place I did, Buck Rub Archery. They are your locally owned and operated one-stop shop for all things archery. With the area's largest inventory, they won't be undersold on any bow or crossbow. It's open to the public and the ideal place to find and test a bow before you buy. Plus, they also rent equipment, offer archery lessons, and have space for hosting birthday parties, scouts, or other events. And if you got an old bow that needs to be fixed, they can take care of you as well. Seriously, check them out off I-94 on Silverdale Road or buckrubarchery.com. All right, welcome back to Tailgate Talk. At On the Tailgate, you can find us on socials. Ritter, Wags, and Tasker all together. So we're talking about the new Wisconsin wolf plans and how they plan to manage the population, basically saying they're going to go zone by zone and set things on their own, issue zone-specific licenses if there is a hunt. Registration window is going to go down from 24 hours to 8 hours, and they plan to educate the public more about wolves. Again, so you can go back or check out the story. I believe Outdoor News actually did a story about it as well. Lead you some more information. But we're talking about seeing wolves, and how cool that experience was for you, Tasker, this year. I've never been hunting and seen a wolf. Like, I've seen wolves like driving and things like that in fields. But I mean, I take it back to you talking about, I said that I would never harvest a wolf or a coyote.
Right.
The day that I shot my buck, which I never recovered, story we were always going to bring up and feel sad about. Right before that buck came through, remember what I talked about? I had a wolf a coyote, that I saw run through. The buck actually went the exact same path the coyote came through. But I will say, if there was ever a coyote that I was going to harvest just for its hide, that was one. It was the most beautiful, bushy, perfect tail I've ever seen. I was like, that is a beautiful, beautiful coyote. Is that weird of me to think that?
No, you should have shot it, dude. I mean, I'm telling you.
It was like a 70-yard poke. I don't think the Bowtech is going to make that happen.
Well, you can get the arrow there. It's just where is it going to hit?
Exactly, yeah.
It's going to fly fast enough to get there.
Now, if I had one of those cross guns, I definitely could have got that.
And that's the thing is that, so this is 2 years in a row now that bow hunting, or I guess bow or gun, that I have seen a wolf while sitting in the tree and actually actively hunting. And Wags had a great thing that we didn't get in the middle of the break here. But, the thing about something that while you're in the woods and you're hunting a deer, there's no concern about that turning around and coming back for you, right? If that deer finds out that you're there, it's gone. Now, with a wolf or a bear or whatever, as Wags was saying, that's a predatory animal. Now, with wolves, I'm not concerned about it because I'm 25 feet in the tree. But last year, we got out of the woods early because that wolf walked through. It was about 3:30, 3:40. daybreak or nightfall was like 4:45, 5 o'clock. We got out of the woods early because my dad was in a ground blind and that wolf was 35 yards away from his ground blind. So he was either going to be shooting it with his cross gun or he was going to be fighting that thing off with a knife. I mean, I was not concerned, but my dad was shook by that. Because,
are you not certain though? Like he just jumps out and the wolf sees and the wolf doesn't take off.
We don't know that.
You know what I mean?
Right,
like that's.
I feel like that is much more likely the case. I don't think that it would be. It would not be an incident. I'm fairly confident of that. But
it's much like bears. I feel bears, if they have cubs around, you know what I mean? And it's springtime. That's when I feel like that's the dangerous thing. But most black bears, you encounter them, they see you and they're not hunting. They're taking off. They're more afraid of you. Which I'm not saying go approach black bears and look to pet them, but that's always my feel about things in nature. They're obviously usually more afraid of you than you are of them. There are the certain situations where that's not the case, but that's more rare. Like that's the exception, not the rule in my mind.
For sure. Yeah.
Equated
to the what the Wags was saying was talking about the rush of that it's different when it's a predatory animal, feeling like your heart pumping, the rush of things. Is that a thrill? Is that like one of the next big thrills? Like, we're going to Cabo here in a couple of weeks. That's one of the things I'm most excited about is to go free diving, snorkeling with sharks.
Yeah.
Like, and this isn't like, oh, we're taking you to a pen and you're going to snorkel. We're going out deep blue. Like, we're going out into the ocean. And I was like looking more and studying this stuff. Apparently around that time we're going to be there, the water clarity is anywhere out to 70 feet.
Oh, wow.
Think about how amazing that would be to be snorkeling, to be sitting in the water, looking down, and 70 feet below you, seeing something. Is that going to scare you?
It's coming right for you.
But I mean, even just to see something swimming around. Like, they're not coming up, but just like swimming past.
I'm
I love that.
About it already.
That gets me so excited. Like, this is going to be so cool. Like, I don't know why I like that.
I already feel like I'm going to die. I just have so many near-death encounters coming up in the next month of my life.
I'm not a jump out of planes person. I'm not I'm not a thrill seeker.
Yeah.
But that, to me, seems really cool. And I think it's only because it's an experience that, first off, is going to be once in a lifetime. Like, I will probably never do it again. It's the one time ever.
You probably only need to do it once, right?
That's just it.
I mean, how many times do you want to risk it?
To have that experience and that story to tell is something I'm really looking forward to. I think is really, really cool.
Yeah.
But your heart, you are as calm as you think you are, and we laugh about it right now. You are going to be seriously. It's going to get you.
Hell yeah!
You don't know.
I'm actually sweating right now.
There is a fear. There is a fear of that animal. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But it has happened where that shark had a buddy. And his buddy got the seal. I'll make something up. And now this buddy, he's mad because he didn't get to eat. And he sees you flipping around. Oh, hey, look at that guy. It looks like a ritter. I'm going to eat that sucker.
It looks like a ritter.
With as much pork fat as I consume, I would be real tasty, I'm sure.
Oh, shoot. But
all jokes aside, it'll be interesting to see what happens as we continue with this whole wolf scenario. When we did that episode back right after the wolf hunt, we ended it talking about, basically it's going to be a wild ride. This is going to be never ending. It's going to be nothing but drama involving wolves in the state of Wisconsin. It's just going to continue. So here's the latest episode of drama that we've been induced. But speaking of drama, I don't know at what point it's going to take for everyone to get on board and take CWD seriously. Now we've had a deer show up in the famed Buffalo County, which has always been thought of as, the mecca of Wisconsin deer hunting, that there's a doe that showed up CWD positive, and now obviously the baiting, bans went into place and all this stuff. So we know it's there. Now how much and how is it going to spread through that? That's the big buck mecca.
Right.
Really of the Midwest is Buffalo County.
Yeah, one of the top counties in the country.
Is the point I get to when I saw that story break and they put the release out was covered, it's like, is this finally the point where people are like, oh my gosh, like it's real, it's here, it could devastate our giant bucks, ruin the big buck mecca of the Midwest. Like, we need to do something about it. Like, do you think this is going to be the tipping point of people starting to be like, okay, we really got to stick money into research, into something, like we've got to do something about CWD to prevent the spread and somehow figure out how to fix the scenario and fix the disaster that we've created in Wisconsin. And every state that it's throughout most of the U.S. now. Like, I get that, but everyone looks at us as like, y'all screwed this up. Wisconsin's got it the worst. Like, we definitely are in a really bad position with CWD.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go, yeah, you know what? I think it's going to spark it, but I think people are just going to say, we haven't really experienced the EHD. We haven't seen, in Wisconsin, we haven't seen the dried riverbeds. We haven't seen the blue tongue. We haven't seen that. I don't believe so. Maybe I'm wrong 100%, but I've seen pictures of it. I've seen it from afar. But I've never seen it in my backyard. And I think you're talking Buffalo County, Trempealeau County, Jackson County. You're going to talk about a revenue-generating – I look at college athletics. The only revenue-generating collegiate athletic sport is men's football.
Absolutely.
You are taking the biggest revenue-generating wildlife, DNR, whatever license. We talked to Kaz about it, non-res, resident tags. I don't know. I don't know if it's really going to come. Is it going to come out? Is it going to be exposed? Is it going to be buried? Is there going to be help? Are we going to worry about it? I think, unfortunately, money talks, and we know what walks. So I just have a feeling that it's going to be minimized. I don't think we're going to learn the extent of it. I don't think we know about it, but I think the money aspect in the state of Wisconsin, in Buffalo, Trempealeau, Jackson County, everything on that Mississippi River, Richland Center, it's got to be. It's going to be maybe overlooked.
But it's like, we've talked about it. I keep saying, like, the whole registration thing and having your deers tested. Like, why can't every deer just be tested to give us more of the science? And I get that it takes money to do that, but that's what I'm saying. Where do we all jump on board and be like, okay, we'll pay for this. Like, we'll kick this in because it's for the betterment of the future of that sport and the future of that game species.
Right.
Both as game and just as nature of what it is, like what is it going to take for people that are hunters and even non-hunters to be like, this is a problem that we should stick money into, whether it's money out of our pockets, that we are just directly giving, or it's, hey, some of this DNR funding, this tax funding, this needs to go here. DNR, you need to allocate funds to this. You need to focus on this more. Like, I don't know. I always look to, like, Doug Duran and the great work that Doug's doing, where he is there in that Richland Center area of, really taking on the whole fight of CWD by himself. He's got a lot of people in the area. They've all come together. They started the Casanova deer, the doe derby, thing right. They've been doing, which is encouraging people to bring their, deer in and get them tested for CBD. And then, if you get it tested, you get entered in the drawing. And obviously, Doug being friends with guys like Steve Ranella and all the connections they have for all the prizes that they get to give away to people. But, like, that's a cool thing. Like, that's a step. So it's like, do more people start doing it individually, or can the state figure out a way to do something like that so we can get it's all, to me, about the research. The more research we have, the more data we have, the better we can figure out how to prevent this or how to at least control this. I mean, we're never going to get rid of CWD. It's like coronavirus. It's like COVID. It's always going to be with us. It's always going to be around. It's always going to be around us. But the more you research it and figure it out, been able to, kind of control things, and manipulate so it doesn't, like at the beginning. Think about COVID. This is a great example to just use COVID for it. We didn't know anything. Like, holy crap, shut everything down. And the more you figured out things, the more we're able to do more and figure out things and realize we can adjust things here or there and live around it without decimating everything. Like, I just feel like if you don't do anything, can CWD just, like, decimate things?
Yeah.
What was just sorry, Cass. Remember when we had that conversation with Kaz? What was he saying? He said there was a difference, and I don't remember what the show was. CWD and EHD. Didn't he say there was differentials, and some you just let go? I can't remember his explanation about it, but if you remember it, bring it to fruit. But I can't remember. Didn't he say there was? You mentioned the COVID, and he used that as an example on one of whether it be CWD or EHD. I believe they're two different things and two different ways of spreading. So can you elaborate on that at all?
I think what he's saying with those, the difference was it was trying to use like the numbers game, so to speak, of like if, an animal with the disease comes into a place, comes into an area, not every animal in that area is going to catch it versus if an animal intentionally interacts with a specific animal, that's like there's something along the lines of
the way that it's transmitted is differently. And one is more CWD is like a cough, where if we're all in the same room and I have a cold, if I cough, you guys are much more susceptible to get it.
Right, but we might not.
But you may also not.
Right.
Whereas EHD is like...
And EHD is transmitted through tick bites.
Yes.
So that's where, mosquitoes even, sorry.
Yeah.
Like a single mosquito,
it's a blood transfer more than a respiratory transfer. So they're very different in terms of how they are transferred. So like if EHD is in the area, it's much less likely to transfer amongst the population than CWD. It's a much faster spreading, because I don't know that it's actually respiratory, but it's much more contagious that way.
Yeah, I think that was how Kaz was trying to explain it, based on the science that he knew. I mean, obviously sitting on the board of, the state board with the DNR and everything. So, yeah, that might be something to go back. That episode, the whole thing we talked with Kaz, actually was a great episode talking about, kind of how politics and everything plays into, how everything operates as far as hunting and fishing. And the conversation really wasn't, I don't think it really was political at all. It definitely covered everything. It was just basically saying how there's so many things to balance everywhere that it's really difficult. And Kaz did a great job of explaining a lot of stuff. And it was a really fun, great conversation. So, yeah, you're right. I can't remember exactly what it was. Great chance to go back and listen to that. If you haven't heard that episode, go check that out. But
So let me just ask this question, I guess. We don't really know how to control it, but I think one of the things that they are trying to do, obviously, we have 72 counties in the state. 54 of them now have baiting and feeding is prohibited in the 54 of 72 counties. I think what I don't know, and nobody really knows this at this point, is how are we ever going to stop this? How are we ever going to stop the spread of CWD? That is one thing that they're really trying to do, because, like I said, I mean, it's much easier to transfer this amongst the population if they're all eating out of the same bait pile.
But, right? I mean, the argument I've also heard with that baiting thing, Tasker, is, well, don't deer just all go and lick on the same tree and all that stuff anyway?
Exactly.
Like, what's the difference?
Right.
That's where I have a hard time with it, because if I can understand that, okay, if you've got a 50-pound bag of corn that's sitting out and they're all kind of eating on the same pile, yeah, okay, it's much easier for them to transmit that. But if they're all licking on the same branches, or they're getting in the same scrapes, or they're eating in the same area, a cornfield or a bean field or whatever that might be.
I think it's the closeness. It's one thing, like, I can go up and lick that doorknob, and you could go by later and lick that doorknob, and say I've got a bad flu, right? Or you and I are both licking the doorknob together, and I'm coughing at the same time. Obviously, that
Or put it this way: even when a corn cob is in the field, what does each corn cob have? They say each corn cob has between 800 to 1,000 kernels on it. One deer doesn't go in there and eat 1,000 kernels.
Right.
So now they're going to eat
it.
Now they're going to eat it.
My argument to it, again, when it's talking about a spread thing, when it's a close proximity, it's having the animals there together at the same time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the close contact. If individually one by one you go to it, yes, there's still a chance. But if you put something, I always call it a hummingbird feeder, the hummingbird feeder mentality. A bait pile is going to draw multiple deer at the same time all into it. You know what I mean? How many times have we seen that?
Much more likely.
Right,
to have
exactly. Much more likely
yeah.
than a random tree that someone's peed under and licked. You know what I mean?
Or a bean field where
right.
it could be 5 acres and there could be 100 deer spread out over 5 acres.
So that to me is why the bait ban, under my understanding of why they don't want the bait. It's creating a greater, and first off, another opportunity to draw deer to a similar place, but also a bigger opportunity to draw multiple deer at once to a smaller area. So if that's my rebuttal to the argument of like, I don't know why they banned bait because deer lick the same. It's having the animals together at the same time. And again, I'm doing wrong. This can make absolutely no sense. This is why I want to see at some point we do something about it with sticking money into it to figure out more.
Yeah. So I have a unique situation where we are, because it had to have been, I mean, it's for sure within the last 10 years. We have on this public land that we're at, like right on the border of Eau Claire and Trempealeau, we have a farmer that, and not like your typical sense of a farmer, not corn crops and all of that stuff. He was actually raising game animals there. And somehow they don't really have, I don't remember if they ever came to a conclusion as to how it happened, but his 10 acres or whatever he had, high fence, all of that, somehow was infected with CWD. Okay. And the way that they found that out was because somebody cut this guy's fence and one of his massive bucks got out. They had to start testing. They had to decimate his herd. Okay, so the state paid this guy $1.5 million for all of his deer that he had to kill. And we have not really seen CWD in our area now. So it's just such a bizarre thing, because how does this guy's fenced-in area get contaminated with this somehow for deer that he had been raising for a number of years, and it has not since impacted anything around that area. Like, we don't hear about CWD ever, and maybe it's just purely for the fact that people aren't testing very often.
Exactly. Are you testing?
Whatever.
Are you having your animals tested? That's the first question I ask.
And it's funny, and the one time that I did right around when all of this was going on, I remember shooting a buck. It had to have been probably 5 to 8 years ago was when this whole thing was happening. And I swear to God, if I ever saw a deer that I thought had CWD, it would have been this deer, because it looked like it looked like when you're sick and you've got like goopy eyes or like the sleep in your eyes or whatever, and it looked like it had a cold, all of those things. And the happenstance of us loading up the deer on the back of the truck and a DNR warden actually driving down the road and saying, hey, do you mind if we test this deer? I say, yeah, sure, why not? Whatever. So they cut the mouth open, they take the thyroid out, and that's how they tested it right there on the spot. They sent us the results like in the mail, or they gave us a text message or whatever. And it was not CWD positive. So it was just a very bizarre instance where it was all of these things are working into consideration of very likely pointing to CWD, the fence being cut, his population being decimated, and then also just all of the things with the way this deer looked. And it still wasn't that. So it's just, I don't know, because as fast as we think it spreads, it still seems to be not as prevalent as maybe it is. Of course, we hear these stories and then think, oh shit, it's everywhere. But then at the same time, it's just these big, like, of course, Buffalo County, it's going to be a national story because it's this big mecca for Wisconsin. But I don't know. It's just, I would love to have some sort of understanding or research behind it as to what we can do outside of like the things we're doing, this baiting and feeding ban, but like, what can we actually do? I mean, we can't just kill the entire herd.
Or if you have a fenced-in area, like you just told this whole scenario, how did it get there?
Right.
How did it get there? I mean, so if it's a fenced-in area, guy breaks in, blah blah. But how does this controlled herd? Again, going back to what Ritter says, who says that we can control it? Is this someone more powerful than us controlling? I mean, again, you can spin everything around, but how does it get into that control? So, climate, food, obviously deer move. Where did this animal come from? I look at it, the biggest thing and maybe you have something there, you guys, but it supposedly, from what I've known, that it doesn't affect the meat, the food, the consumption of humans. Again, does it affect the herd? Decimation, we see it. We see death. We see unacclimated deaths. I mean, we see stuff that's not good. But I think I don't know. But how does it get into a controlled environment? How does CWD get into a environment that's been caged off forever, and now all of a sudden it spreads among its herd, but it hasn't been outside? I just don't get it. Is everything transferred by an insect bite, a mosquito bite, a tick, something? Something had to get into that cage.
You know how you figure that out? More research. Funds
it's just more
and research. It all circles back to the initial point of things, but yeah,
So do we know what the testing actually costs?
I don't have those numbers. I don't know, and that's where I don't want to speak too far out of turn of things. When we have all of our opinions that they need to do this, you don't know what it actually takes to get done. It's just opinion of we'd like to see something happen. But once I saw that thing pop in Buffalo County, I thought, okay, is this going to be the thing where people are like, whoa, hang on, it's in Buffalo County. Now we got to do something.
I'm curious to see what ends up happening with it.
So we'll find out, or we won't. We've covered two things.
There's a meeting on January 11th. Yeah, they said.
Two things we've covered in this show. We probably will never get answers for, and we'll never know. It'll always be discussed and talked about. Wolves, wolf hunts, CWD.
Wolf recipes.
And it'll give us things to talk about further into the future forever and ever. But really looking forward to the next show next week. 100th episode. Big anniversary on the ice. It'll be the three of us. John Resnick, Clam Pro Tackle will be out with us. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. Catching fish, telling stories. And
Blackberry Brandy
hanging out with you. Yeah, look forward to it. So catch it next week. Going to be right here for Tasker and Wags. I'm Ritter. This is Tailgate Talk.